Getting started in the tech industry is becoming more and more popular as innovation in the space continues to rise at an exponential rate. And like many companies, we at Anyline believe that bringing in fresh talent from the universities not only allows them to get a strong start to their career, but it also helps us keep our toes on the ground and ensure that we stay current with the latest trends. Now, having said that, what can applicants do to ensure that they stand out when applying for a tech industry job? And why is this such an important topic for us here at Anyline? Let's dive into this subject and much more on this episode of Anyline Anytime. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Anyline Anytime. My name is Mark Babin, your host, and as always, it's so great to have all of you watching this great new episode. Now, as we alluded to in that introduction, this episode is for the up-and-coming generation of talent that are looking to get started in the tech industry. From internships to full-time employment, we're going to be giving an outline of why companies like us depend on this next generation so much when it comes to driving development forward. Joining me for this talk, I am welcomed by two of the senior Anyline family members. Firstly, Sylvia, our talented head of HR. Sylvia, welcome to the episode.
Hello, Mark. Thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here.
Great to have you as well. And joining us, we are honored to have our own Chief Technical Officer, Daniel Albertini. Daniel, welcome to the studio. Welcome to this podcast.
Thanks, Mark, for the invite. Looking forward to a great episode.
Absolutely. Great to have you both with me. And thank you for carving out a little bit of time in your schedules. I know you guys are busy and there are many things happening, but this does mean a lot to those looking for employment. And I know this will be a lot of great insight for those coming up. So thank you again, both, for being here. I think a really great point to start this conversation today would be to look at how companies like ours can fulfill the career ambitions for new graduates who are looking to get into the industry that we're in. So among the obvious points that I think many look for when they're looking for a job, of course, stability, good work-life balance, promising career growth, and so on, all the main characteristics that we look for. I'm wondering if there's more to the story with this new generation of graduates that we'll see this year and in coming years. Perhaps this generation wants to have more of a significant impact on the future. Danny, would you love to just give a little bit of an insight into this and get us started?
Yeah, sure. So when I started working in IT in Vienna, it was around 2005, still during college time. And there was not a lot of startup mentality in Vienna. So I worked at a pretty standard Austrian company with old structures, hierarchies, and you're just one guy, one engineer at the bottom. What you say has little to no impact. What you do has little to no impact. I was just working on code the whole day. It took months and months until my code was finally in production, and it was just a very little piece of a whole bigger picture. So I was quite frustrated. So 2010, when I finished my college degree, I said to myself, no, that's not the way I want to grow. So that's why I started my own company, because I could not really find the thing what I'm looking for in Vienna. So I thought it just easier to start my own thing. So I paired up with Lucas and we founded the predecessor to Anyline, and that was very engaging. We owned the company, have the responsibility. What we did had impact, and we wanted then to build a company where every new employee feels the same. So when we hire now new employees, already a couple of weeks later, they push the first code to production.
Amazing.
And it will be live in a couple of weeks later. So we have engineers starting at the company, and 6 weeks later have the first feature deployed in production and deployed to hundreds of customers and to millions of devices around the world. And that's just so rewarding and a good feeling for an engineer to write code and have it not months and months that it gets in production, and having it in days or weeks, and to see this immediate impact in the work you're doing. And I think that's very rewarding for people in the tech industry.
Yeah, and I think people today, like we're kind of saying, I think maybe today they want to have more impact. So I love what you're saying, how you can come into a company like ours, or of course the many others, and have an immediate impact right away. Like you're saying, be able to push out things that you've worked on in literally kind of a next release, and having that ability to do that. That would never happen in a large company. So I love that point. Sylvia, coming to you on this. Now, obviously, I think you would mirror much of what Danny has said so far, but looking at it more from a cultural and organizational perspective, what are the key characteristics that really drive interest for those looking for a new career opportunity right now and in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely second what Danny said. So I really think people want to see the impact of their work, and it's super important as a company to show appreciation for the work everybody is doing. And I really mean everybody. And to value really the impact and the success, or the contribution to the success everybody is doing, is, I think, really, really important. Besides that, as you mentioned, a strong company culture is, of course, super important. I think people want to identify with the company and with the values so that they can really live them and implement them in their daily life and daily work life. So I think this is absolutely key for happy employees. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, the personal development is another key factor, in my opinion. So in my experience, the new generation really wants to grow, to develop, to challenge themselves, to use the opportunities they get to use them as stepping stones to test new skills, and to really develop their talents and find their passion.
Yeah, and building off of that, and kind of what Danny was saying on this contrast between the larger corporations and this world, do you feel like the employees today are really looking for a company that they can grow their skills with for a long period of time, rather than maybe just a resume builder, kind of in for a couple of years and then out, that you'd see with larger companies?
Yes, definitely. So I think when in the past people were looking for a secure and stable environment, young talents are no more looking for jobs for the eternity. So they want to learn, they want to grow, to develop, and of course also a good reference for the future. I think in a growing company, the work structures offer a lot of freedom. So hierarchies are kept very flat. The variety of tasks is great. So this gives career starters really the opportunity to get a taste of many areas and to gain experience in many different areas. Mm-hmm. Also, of course, everyone gets a lot of individual responsibility and a certain amount of decision making for their respective area. So that's definitely, I think, a big difference.
A really big difference. And I know that just personally, you would kind of immediately get ownership of things. And if you want to pursue a certain direction, you're kind of given the freedom to do that as long as you can justify the results at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Which is great, because in a large company, you're never going to leave that cubicle mentality. Here's your job and that's the end of it. No, that's really nice. Really great point, Sylvia. Thank you. Danny, coming to you and kind of coming off what Sylvia said quite poetically there, I think it'd be really nice to give a little bit of a teaser of some upcoming projects we have, to really get those looking for jobs to maybe like, hey, I want to be a part of that, or I think I can contribute to that. So without giving too much of the farm away, can you give us a little bit of a teaser on maybe some upcoming projects that you have planned?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
We at Anyline, we have always a backed schedule. Large companies are always amazed how much we can drive forward in just a couple of months. And the reason for that is, like Sylvia already said, we have smaller hierarchies. We have the responsibilities directly at the contributors. They don't have to go up the hierarchy chain and go down the hierarchy chain for the decision powers. So we can really making a lot more progress in so many levels than huge companies. Just to mention one example, we are working now hugely in this verification space.
Right.
So our old focus was mostly on text detection, text recognition, and now we added this verification space to the portfolio. We started with face verification. We already launched that last month, and we are pushing forward in this direction over the next 12 months. So we are launching this for identity documents, that we verify the realness of the identity document. We are verifying the realness of utility meters in India, and that's one of the huge projects which is coming up. I always try to push innovation directly at them with the customer, because innovation only exists when you really add value at the customer side. Otherwise, you're just in your four walls inventing stuff, but you're not driving innovation. That only happens at the customer. So that's why we always work directly with the customer together on these new projects. And hopefully in the future, when travel is accepted again, we can also then fly again to those customers around the world, where we have everywhere in the world, which is also a great opportunity for our engineers. And another thing we are working on is we're always closely working together with universities, because this basic research was always a part of our company and our culture. So we are proud to be working together with Sepp Hochreiter. He is the one who invented the LSTM neural networks,
Incredible.
which are driving now Alexa, Siri, and all those voice assistants. And we are working together with them on the next big things on machine learning, on techniques like few-shot learning, where you really try to get accurate neural network trainings with just a handful of samples. And that's just two of the samples what we are currently pushing forward.
Yeah. Really nice. The verification one's nice because it kind of is that next step in the journey that we've taken, like you said, sort of starting with recognizing documents, but now we want to see if they're real. And that's with the world becoming digital. It really seems like that's the next step. So I could see a lot of graduates really wanting to be a part of that and have an impact on where that goes, which is where we are right on the cutting edge. So yeah, really good teaser of some products and some projects coming up. I think those listening will certainly be hopefully taking notes, and we'll see some interest in that as well. So thank you very much for that. Now, building off the university thought, Sylvia, coming to you on this. Now, I know we hire a lot and we aim to do this right out of graduation because we want to embrace that new, fresh perspective and person directly out of university. I know it's a very important part of what we do. And with how fast and dynamic our working environment is, which I know you both will attest to, anyone in this building will attest to with how fast and dynamic we work, it seems like bringing these students right out of school, right out of graduation is a really a good winning strategy and something that means a lot to us. But why is it so important to the organization? Is it specific traits that we see with graduates that come out of school, or is there a little bit more?
Yeah. First of all, just one thought. Of course, I think for an organization, it's important to hire employees of all different types, as it's also one of our values. So it's really super important to have a broad variety, and not only when it comes to experience, but also when it comes to age, gender, and all diversity in all aspects. But of course, hiring young talents and straight from graduation is a big part of our organization. Well, they are passionate.
Of course.
They are super flexible, which is important in such a fast-paced environment. And then they can adapt very quickly to changes. Also, they try to develop traditional standards with their updated knowledge, which I think is a great benefit to any organization. So you will definitely get new energy, new perspectives on maybe old or traditional processes. And of course, now the young generation, they grew up with technology. So they grew up with computers, with the internet, with social media. So they can basically adapt to new technology and any unique technology that your business uses. And on the other side, for young talents, I think it's the perfect opportunity to have a quickly project ownership, as we already talked before, the opportunity to prove yourself right away, to gain a lot of experience and a lot of insight in different tasks and areas.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that fresh perspective just means so much to what we do. And it, like I said in the opening intro, it really helps keep us grounded because it keeps us on the cutting edge, because we're not the ones in these classrooms, and we want to embrace that knowledge, that fresh knowledge that comes out of the school. So I really like that. That's a part of the culture. And Danny, as CTO, it really does seem like this mentality is really ingrained into who we are, into who Anyline is. And when you were founding the company, why was that such an integral part to what you guys were building? Because surely you foresaw that. I know you built the company right out of university. Is that what kind of stemmed that mindset going in?
Yes, definitely. I think Sylvia already made a lot of great points, which I can just also emphasize on. I really was just also in the companies I worked, I was just tired of talking basically to myself all the time, to 20, 30-year-old white male. And that's just the industry what we are living in. And that's just, first of all, it's boring for me. And also it's just one single perspective. And there's so much more perspectives to the table. And just a woman in her 30s have just so totally different ideas to it, which I cannot come up with. But both bring so much more to the table, or people of other ethnicities, or that's all so valuable. And you really have to have this broad knowledge and feedback from all different angles to really build great software and build great companies. That's just not the future I want to build, and I want to be in, that I still in 20 years just talk to white males in my age.
Of course not.
And that's just what I want to change. And also especially on these young minds which come out of college, they bring so much fresh ideas and have this different mindset. And we want to also challenge the status quo, as like I did and I still want to do. And I just love those people, and I want to bring them to our company. And a second point I want to emphasize on why I also see it's so important to hire those young minds is we need those also to have a cohesive culture and engineering team. I want to have a company where I have a good mix of senior and junior engineers. I think it's an integrational part of a senior engineer to be a mentor, a trainee of a junior engineer.
Amazing.
I think that's very important also for the senior engineer to push further and to take the next steps in their growth path, to train and mentor those young junior engineers. And I think that's absolutely a necessity in a good balanced engineering team to have senior, juniors, and all different experience groups and age groups in the area.
Yeah, so everyone's helping to make each other better. We're helping to bring the new graduates into this world and teach them a lot about our world, but then at the same time, allow them to teach us their skills that they bring out of school, their mindset, and make the senior engineers better, make the senior employees better, because they're taking on new skills, having to train someone. So yeah, it's a really good back and forth. And I guess having the diversity involved just makes it even better. It's just more perspective rather than a single perspective. And I think that's key. And that's created the diversity we have in the company now, and will surely stem the diversity we have years to come, which I think is really, really great. Good. Thank you guys so much for that insight. And I think, again, it really paints a nice picture. So moving on to tips for candidates. Now I can hear the notepads coming out from all those listening, of course. This is what they want, and hopefully they stuck around to this point to get here. So starting, I really want to look at, from your guys' perspective, what candidates can do when they're out looking for a job, because of course we want there to be a good, natural, organic match. We don't just want anyone applying for anything. We want the person looking for the job, the candidate, to find a good match. So Sylvia, coming to you on this one first, when candidates are out there looking for a position, especially in the tech industry, what are some specific things that they should look for in an employer?
Mm-hmm. I think first of all, it's important to decide if this fast-paced environment is really something for you. So as we already discussed, there are a lot of opportunities and great advantages, but still it's also a very challenging environment. And I think you really need to love working hard. We need to step out of our comfort zone every day. We try out new things. We have to take risks and deal with insecurities. And I think it's important to think about if this is really something where you would feel comfortable with. Mm-hmm. When applying for a job, I think it's important to get as much information as you can get about the job and about the company. So really get an insight about the values and the company culture. Is this an environment where you would like to contribute, where you see yourself? And also, if you're invited to an interview, ask as many questions as possible. So in my opinion, that's always a good sign if a candidate has lots of questions and is really interested in the position and in the company. I think it shows for the interviewer that you've engaged with the company and that you're really, really interested in learning more. And yeah, for the candidate, it gives you the opportunity to really find out if the company is where you would see yourself and where you would like to work.
Right. Yeah. And I think they can't be afraid to come and reach out. Like, it almost looks better if they step outside and establish a connection even before applying to ask about the job. I think they should feel totally open to doing that. Is that something you would encourage as well?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of gives them a better step forward, and then at least they know who we are and everything like that. So in contrast to that, Sylvia, looking at what candidates can do once they do apply to stand out, what are some of the top HR tips that candidates can look for? What are the inside secrets that candidates can do to really stand out on an application?
Yeah, I think it's not a big secret anymore. The most important thing is it's really great if you get the feeling that a candidate has done some research on the position and about the company.
Of course.
The easiest thing to do is to find out the right person to contact.
Yes.
But of course, for example, it's really great if candidates have already familiarized with our company culture, if they already know something about us, and then also can really ask in deep questions or really detailed questions then. So yeah, that way I know that the person really has thought about it and could be really happy in our company.
So the more effort they put forward on the application really shows you that there's some significant passion there rather than just the 30th application of the day.
Absolutely.
Of course, and every company wants to see that. Danny, coming to you on this, now the two different angles of the approach here that we've spoken about with Sylvia, I'm sure you would mirror much of what she said, but again, from your position, looking at your team, is there anything that on both sides that you would add to what Sylvia says?
Again, Sylvia made a lot of great points.
Of course.
What I could add is just download our product, try out our product.
Great point.
Do some basic research about OCR and those things, and you are already on the top 10% of applicants, I would say, and really for the people fresh out of college, you probably can't impress us with a CV. So you really have to focus on the resume. And here you can really surprise us and be creative and really get the point clear why you think Anyline is the right company for you. I think that helps a lot, and that are the resumes I pick out and I keep in mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when they're applying and when they're speaking to you, if they can identify that here's why Anyline is better for me than XYZ or other companies, I think, would that also add value when you're interviewing somebody?
Exactly, yeah. At the interview, that also then helps if you have this knowledge and can really apply it. Why you think Anyline is a great starting point for your career, and what are the traits. And if you do some basic research, you can already do a lot more with that.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing, you guys. Thank you so very much for the incredible insights and, interview wide. I think lots of really, really good information here for candidates that are, again, looking to apply, looking to get into the tech sector directly out of school. And we're really kind of highlighted why that's so important for companies like ours and, of course, ourselves. But then again, what they can do to stand out, what they should look for when they're applying, hopefully lots of good notes and some encouragement coming out of here, a lot of hope. So really, really good thoughts. Final notes before we bring things to a close. Sylvia, anything you want to add?
Just once again, Mark, thank you so much for having us. And I'm very much looking forward to many applications. And again, maybe just want to encourage everyone listening, if there are questions, that they feel free to approach us anytime. Yeah, doors always open. Absolutely. And Danny, any final notes from you before we bring things to a close today?
If there's one point people should remember when watching this podcast is I want to focus one more time on the diversity angle. Yes. I'm now a father of a young daughter, and I see everyday life how hard it is to raise a woman without the stereotypes, all the child books, all the child gifts. There's so much woman stuff girl stuff, boy stuff still around there, and it's so hard every day to raise a girl to not be bound to the stereotypes when she grows up. And I want to just say to all the fathers and mothers out there, really try to raise your girls without stereotypes, that they have an open mind to also get into tech. And all the lucky women who are now in tech, in the ID, please apply to Anyline. It's really great here. And the women already thinking about starting universities, I think studying ID is really great fun, and just go for it. There are more and more women in tech, and I hope we can get to even grounds in the future. Yeah, and that's it.
Wonderful. Danny, thank you so much. Amazing final notes, and could not absolutely ring truer. I think we definitely want to encourage anyone and everyone to come into this industry. It's not dominated by any in particular group anymore. It is really diverse. And we've proven that in the past. We'll prove that in the future. The industry will prove that in the future as well. So really, really good insights today. Thank you both again so much for coming down. Appreciate the time, and hopefully those listening will get the insights they need and enter the world of tech. So Sylvia, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much, Mark.
You're very welcome. And Danny, again, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for the invite.
Great. And to all of those watching, thank you so very much for sticking with us on this episode. Hopefully lots of good information for you. If you are just leaving school, looking to get into the tech sector, or perhaps not quite sure where you want to head yet, hopefully we've convinced you just a little bit more that the tech industry is not only growing, but it's growing at an exponential rate. It's thriving, and it is incredibly diverse and just absolutely ready for you to start a career at a company just like ours. Growing fast tech companies. So hopefully lots of notes were taken. You've been able to take a lot away. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to any of us. I'll put all of our LinkedIn links just in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and check those out there. But of course, until our very next episode, wishing you a fantastic day wherever in the world you may be. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy. I'll see you on the next episode.